What's up, everybody? Welcome to Targeting Winners. This is Season 2, Episode 4. We're starting our way too early series, and now we're going to start off with everyone's favorite dumpster fire. We got the Big 12 conference that it's such a dumpster fire. They have 2 games this year that don't even count. So that's let's something Darren pointed out to us. Darren, how you doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Peter, how are you?
Not too bad at all.
Not too bad. All right. Well,
he is very excited as he's got Big 12 Day under his name, so I can tell you.
That's right. It's a big day here. Big day.
Looking forward to this for a long time.
So, let's start there, Darren. So there's 2 games that don't count in the conference standings. So I guess they were like, screw it. What's going on?
Yeah. So just a quick little recap of what went on in the Big 12 between the end of last year and this upcoming season. The big news, obviously, Texas and Oklahoma have left, and they're now proud members of the Southeast Conference. To make up for that loss, the Big 12 picked up a few teams from the Pac-12. They got Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah are now members here. So the Big 12 will be a 16-team conference this year. 9 conference games, the same as last year. And those 2 games that you were mentioning, September 7th, you'll notice that Baylor is going to Utah. And the following week, September 14th, Arizona is going to Kansas State. Those games were made well in advance of the Pac-12 blowing up. Too late to do any scheduling changes. So, when you're breaking this conference down, just keep in mind the September 7th game between Baylor and Utah and the September 14th game between Arizona and Kansas State will not count into conference standings. So, and just another odd thing, we had on our last show, we went over some national championship odds, and you'll notice we didn't mention any Big 12 teams. So the dumpster fire classification certainly is valid. But oddly enough, definitely. But preseason top 25 rankings are out on ESPN, and oddly enough, 5 teams in this conference are actually ranked, and that would be Utah, Arizona, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and Kansas. So even though no love on the national championship picture, they're predicting some decent teams in this conference, but we shall see. All right, so kind of let's just get into it here. We'll just start at the bottom and kind of work our way up. But before we do that, guys, I want to ask you, since this is our first of 4 shows previewing these power conferences, when you guys sit down and you look at this type of bet and you determine whether or not you want to make a bet in this particular market, what are some of the things you guys are looking at? And how many of those things does a team need to check off in order to make that a bet for you guys?
Pete?
Yeah, okay. I say. Schedule certainly important, especially when you look at the Big 12 here. I think you mentioned, obviously, they're not getting a lot of national championship love, and that's for sure. But it's competitive, right? There's a bunch of teams in this conference that could win this conference, right? I mean, there's going to be a lot of really good competition, a lot of really good games here. To me, that's a bit challenging, right? If I'm looking to bet a potential national championship team for next year, I don't know who's coming out of it. There's no powerhouse in this conference. I don't know who's coming out of it, right? So for me, that becomes a challenge when you look at the conference. So I look at the conference first to get an understanding of kind of the competitiveness in it and where the team stands in that conference. Then I look at the schedule specifically to see, who they're playing, where are they playing, other factors that could come into play. Certainly, I mean, I always look at injuries. It's obviously way too early for that for the most part, right? And that's the issue with doing this soon. Is that, unless somebody blows their knee out in practice soon here, it's early, right? So it's hard to look at that. But those are my 3 main factors that I look at especially with longer term type of bets like this. So Tim?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I also just look at which teams they play at home, which teams they play on the road, and where they do it. And again, I just look at, the transfer portal, who's coming in, if they're upgrading positions. I'd rather a team upgrade a position from the transfer portal than the recruiting, because at least, you got a true freshman coming in. You'd rather have maybe a redshirt sophomore or a junior taking the spot with some playing experience. But and then if I'm going to put a bet in this early, as far as who's going to win the Big 12, I'm looking for a big number. I mean, that's, a la Oklahoma State last year. So that's those are my qualifications: a big number, some kind of upgrade somewhere, and who do they play, and where do they play them? So that's what I look for.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Schedule's obviously a huge part, especially now with all these larger conferences. Every team in this particular conference got 15 potential opponents. They're only going to play 9 of them. So somebody's going to get screwed. Actually, multiple programs will probably get screwed. Some will have an easier time than others. The other thing I look at is the defense of these teams. Like, how did they perform last year? Were they good? Were they bad? Who's coming back? Because, I mean, in this conference, I noticed as I was starting from the bottom up and looking, this sadly seems like a defense optional conference. Not a lot of teams played it last year. But if you look at the power conferences, from last year, Michigan only gave up 10.4 points a game. Alabama only gave up 19. Florida State only gave up 19.3. Texas only gave up 18.9. And if the NCAA didn't screw Florida State, those 4 teams would have been your playoff. 3 of those 4 teams got in, and one of them should have. So, it's corny to sit here and say, well, defense wins championships, but you know what? Until proven otherwise, it really does. So I certainly look at the defense from last year and what's projected for this year. All right. So all that being said, and in true dumpster fire fashion, let's start at the bottom here. And to save time, we're going to group 5 teams together here. The numbers we're giving out are all from FanDuel. Caesars has these odds out as well. We're actually going to talk about that shortly when Tim gets into Colorado here. Currently, Baylor at plus 5,500, Cincinnati plus 6,500, Arizona State plus 10,000, BYU and Houston both sitting at plus 13,000. I saw nothing here that would even lead me to believe that these teams are going to win, much less even participate in the title game. You guys on board with that, or did you see something that
we are in agreement? Not to keep this like Wayne and Garth, they suck.
I mean, other than some interesting games and maybe some interesting players, Toledo, the transfer into Baylor, DeQuan Finn could be.
Oh, we love him.
Might be interesting as heck to watch them play at Baylor. So I think it'll be fun, but they have no defense whatsoever, so they're not going to do anything. But so other than some interesting, intriguing things like that, no, these teams are not doing anything.
So.
Right. Yeah, I looking at these 5. I had mentioned initially about the 5 teams in the preseason rankings. Houston's got 4 of these teams on the schedule. Arizona State and BYU have all 5 of these preseason ranked teams on their schedule. Cincinnati only has 1 of them, but again, road games: Texas Tech, Colorado, Iowa State, all easily losable. Baylor, I do like DeQuan Finn as well, Pete. He's one of my favorites. And they do only have 2 teams from the ranked teams on their schedule. But again, all 5 of these defenses gave up 30 points a game or more. BYU 29.8, but close enough. But yeah, I saw nothing here. These teams, maybe if they're lucky, one of them will go 3-6 in the conference, but I think all these teams are going to be at the bottom of the standings.
Amen. Moving on
to some teams that Tim actually likes. The Colorado Buffaloes. I'll just say this: we touch on shopping around for the best number. If you're a FanDuel account holder, you can get plus 4,000 on Colorado right now to win this conference. If you're only holding a Caesars account, they're only at plus 1,800. So by God, take 1 unit out of your bankroll, send it over to FanDuel and play Colorado if you want here. Tim, I'll start with you. You like the Buffaloes? Tell us why. I do.
I'm going to follow your advice. I'm going to take a unit. I'm going to bet it on Buffalo plus 4,000. So, go back to what I said earlier in the show. Who do they got at home? They got Utah at home, Kansas State at home, Oklahoma State at home. And on the road, they do go to Kansas, and they go to UCF at the end of September. Orlando is going to be an absolute shit show on that day when Coach Prime comes back to Florida. So that'll be something to watch out for. But I remember last year picked Washington to win the Pac-12, and I said their defense was crummy. If the defense just upgrades to pretty good, they're going to make some noise. And I feel that way about the offensive line for Colorado. They were terrible, horrible. I've seen subway turnstiles that block better. These and on the transfer portal, coming in, O-line, going out, O-line, out with the crappy, and with the even if they're just pretty good. They don't even have to be great. They don't have to be wonderful. If they're pretty good, because they still have Sanders at quarterback. They got the 2 receivers. They got the Hunter kid and the Horn kid. They got pretty decent running backs. They have 1 left, but they got another one coming in. If they're even pretty good, I wouldn't even be surprised if Sanders Shedeur gets serious Heisman. He got Heisman consideration this year with the crappy offensive line. They're going to upgrade it, and at plus 4,000, I'll take it. And I think it's a good shot, and I think it's a solid bet. So I'm going to bet right now 1 unit plus 4,000 Colorado to win the Big 12. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. What do you think?
I'll let Pete go first.
I'm getting my pipe out. My pipe is out. I don't think they're going to have a problem on offense. I think they will score. I think Sanders is outstanding and will be better with somebody attempting to block in front of him. So that would be lovely. They need to find a defense, all right, because that defense, they're going to get lit up by some of these other teams in this conference that can throw the ball, which they can, like Oklahoma State, et cetera. Teams like this. So they're going to have a problem dealing with teams that can throw the ball on them. So they need to find a defense. If they find a defense, yeah. I mean, I think it's a good long shot bet, but it's plus 4,000 for a reason, right? I mean, that's a massive transformation. I mean, he did a great job in his first year, Deion did, and I think he'll improve. But that's a massive transformation of a program in a pretty short period of time, right? Now, if they do it, hats off. But I don't know. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is a short turnaround, but the conference is not. Oklahoma's gone, Texas is gone. I mean, it's there for them. I mean, if their toughest games are, Kansas State and Utah. I mean, I'm not that high on Utah, so goat herder or goat farmer, whatever he is, be damned, and the guy with the hair. But yeah, I'm still sticking with the bet. I'm not going to be shocked at all. I'm when you said plus 4,000, I was a little surprised. I was more than a little surprised.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to win the Big 12. I'm not going to be surprised at all if they do.
Wow.
So,
bold. I don't know how that's happening, but bold.
I was going to say, congrats on the sudden enlargement of your balls, but I'm just going to throw a little water on this here. And again, I can't disagree with Tim because he did pick the only conference champion last year for us. So, he's got the proven track record. But yeah, Tim had touched on the schedule. All 5 of those preseason ranked teams are on this schedule. Sanders, arguably, you could say he's the best quarterback in this conference. I mean, I think he's certainly top 3. The problem is, how long does he make it before, he gets hurt? He's already proven this line can't keep him healthy. Just 2 days ago, one of their offensive linemen who started all 12 games just entered the portal, so he's gone.
That's addition by subtraction.
Well, the thing was, he started all 12 games. So, I mean, yeah, they may suck, but at least that guy had experience. Pete had touched on the defense, just under 35 points a game allowed. If that doesn't improve, Colorado is going to become such a pass-heavy team, and just every other time this kid has to pass, there's another chance he's looking up at the sky. It's a big ask. I certainly think that's not too far of a stretch. The schedule's brutal. I mean, Deion went from 1 win to 4 wins. I mean, bro, I hope you're right. As somebody who made a plus 5,000 bet last year, and you probably sat there and was like, this guy's a friggin' idiot. I want you to be right. There's a lot that needs to go right. And unfortunately, the offensive line and the defense are huge question marks. And, I want you to be right, man, but I'm not seeing it yet.
Give it time.
I know I'm definitely giving it time. Like I said, you've got the track record, man. I can't, I'm not going to go against you. They got a tough schedule, and I think Deion's got to stop coaching to make his son's stats look good, and kind of, realize if he wants to get a better job than Colorado, he's got to, he's got 50 other kids or so he's got to coach on that team besides his own. So we'll see.
At least for this year. I mean, if after his son and Travis Hunter leave, he'll probably get a coaching job somewhere else.
Yeah, no, most likely. What's he going to want to stay for? All right, so a little mixed on Colorado, but Tim has made his first bet for 2024, and that's always Good times. All right, let's go on to West Virginia. At FanDuel, they are currently sitting at plus 1,900 to win this conference. Guys, any thoughts on the Mountaineers for 2024?
I'll go first. This team exceeded expectations last year. I mean, this was a team that not much was expected out of them. Expected the coach to be out the door probably at the end of the year. This certainly turned around for them, and especially this later half of the year, they played really well and went on a winning streak. So that's good. So I think they'll be competitive. Once again, defense is lacking. They're somewhere around 30 points a game, so that's an issue. So yeah, I mean, I don't look at them as a potential conference winner here, but I think they're competitive. I think they'll play some good games. I think it'll be interesting to watch them.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. They'll be competitive. I don't think they're good enough to win. So I'm just, this is one thing I looked at it. And what was their line again for the Big 12?
Plus 1,900.
Yeah, that's not big enough for me to bet on them. So no, out on West Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Garrett Green. I think he's an excellent quarterback. He did have, in addition to his passing stats, did have 13 rush TDs. Their two-headed running back tandem of C.J. Donaldson and Jaheim White both coming back as well. Offensively, they should be fine. Pete had touched on the defense. Again, no surprise, a Big 12 team with a subpar defense. Won their bowl game to finish a 9-win season. But going back and looking at that schedule, there were 4 teams that joined the Big 12 last year. All 4 of those were on West Virginia's schedule. And they even lost to Houston on that crazy Hail Mary on like a Thursday night. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. But, they got to go to Oklahoma State and Arizona. They got home games against Kansas and Kansas State. Their toughest game last year, they went to Oklahoma, gave up 59 points and got blown out. I know Neil Brown took a little bit of a pay cut and they gave him a nice extension. But yeah, I think this team comes crashing down a little bit. Not a fan here of this team either. All right, moving on. TCU, the Horned Frogs, plus 1,600 right now. Any thought on TCU for this year?
No, not most of the Texas teams. There's Texas Tech also. Everyone seems to be high on. They're getting a lot of reps. Same thing with TCU. Again, I'm just I have one more possible play, but the Colorado and my other team that we'll get to in a little bit is those are my only 2. I'm not seeing TCU. They may improve, but I'm not seeing anything that jumps off the screen at me anyway.
Yeah, I mean they had a disappointing last year. Yeah, they're going to improve. I don't see them finishing 5-7 was it last year? I don't see that happening again. I think they'll do better than that. But another team that doesn't play very much defense, so they'll have the same struggles as some of the others we've already talked about. And they're not as high scoring as some of the other teams that at least can maybe overcome the fact that they're not playing defense. So yeah, I don't see much here either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a fan of Josh Hoover. He obviously needs to step up a little bit to get this team to where they want to be. Again, you'd mentioned the 5-7 season. They did beat SMU last year, but then went on to lose 5 of their next 6 after that. So, throw in a game against Oklahoma where they gave up 69 points. They get Oak State and Arizona at home, but they got to go to Kansas and Utah. So they're probably losing 3 of those 4 games at least. Nothing here at plus 1,600 makes me want to bet on them either. All right, hold on. Let me flip my page, guys. I have multiple pages. I feel so prepared. Oh, shit. All right. We have to talk about Oklahoma State now, also at plus 1,600. No sense talking about last year. We've talked about that enough. The BYU game to clinch a spot in the Big 12 title game last year cost me about 18 to 24 months of my life. So yeah, I mean, you guys can go. What do you think about Oklahoma State?
Well, the same thing we thought last year. We had our buddy in with the hair there back in October. He said, look, they're going to win games that they shouldn't win. They're going to lose games that they really shouldn't lose. You can look back at last year. They lost by like 40 some odd points to UCF, but then they beat Oklahoma. So it's like, It's too inconsistent. So I think the inconsistency comes back to bite them. And I mean, always a fan of Gundy. So, but yeah, I'm just the inconsistency comes back to bite them in the ass a little bit here. And I think they're going to lose more, maybe more than a couple games that they shouldn't lose. And they'll probably have like a 4-loss season, and that'll probably get them out. That's what I'm thinking.
So let me start with the caveat that I was not involved in this bet last year, right? So I don't have a jaded
Nor should
past.
you have been, because look what it did.
I don't
to
have a jaded past linked to this team. I don't have nightmares or PTSD over this team. So so I can look at them objectively. And when I look at them objectively, what are they at? Like plus 1,600 or something like that?
Yes, that's correct.
It wouldn't be a terrible bet. Am I going to go through a unit or two on it? Probably not. But I think this is a team that can be very good, has shown they can be very good. And so I think there is potential here with this team. At not being jaded by last year, I would consider this as a longer shot bet in the conference because I think they have a viable chance. I think, I look at 4 teams that are probably in contention to win the Big 12. They're one of them. Right. And so I think there is certainly some potential here with this team. So I kind of like them. This is my longer shot bet in this conference.
All right, that's fair. And you weren't here last year. And first of all, let me just explain a little bit of the logic behind the bet. I don't think I ever really expected them to win. They were plus 5,000 in July or whenever it was. I had a brain fart and made this bet. But Tim is aware of this. This bet was made with the purpose of hoping to hedge with whoever they were playing. The part that ended up sucking and blowing up in my face was, I still had a plus 5,000 odds. They had that terrible performance against BYU before pulling it out in double overtime. Texas wiped the floor with Texas Tech. And then it turned out Texas really needed to beat, to win the Big 12 to get into the playoffs. So I was pretty much doomed from the time Texas destroyed Texas Tech. Because even on the money line, I would have had to have put up like 43 times my original bet to show a minimal profit. So the thought process was good. Just the timing of the Tim had mentioned how terrible they played at times. Unfortunately, they did not finish the season very strong. And that really, there was a 7-point spread. Texas over Oklahoma State, that would have been something, but it was like 15.5 by kickoff. So I was just done, but Ollie Gordon and the whole offensive line is coming back. I mean, dude had over 1,700 yards and they didn't even play the first 3 games, barely at all. So the problem I see with this team, and again, Tim kind of touched on this, they lost some games that they had no business losing, and they won a lot of games that they had no business winning. I think it's going to get a little bit back to normal again, like Tim had said. Home game against Utah, I expect them to lose that. They go to Kansas State, I expect them to lose that. I can't trust the defense, so almost 29 points a game given up. And their QB, I can't trust him either. I mean, he led the conference in picks with 14. I mean, teams are going to load the box to try and stop Ollie Gordon because he's what they got, and they're going to have to make Bowman beat them. And he's shown more often than not, he can't always do that. So as much as it pains me, can't do it again. Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
So yeah. So I appreciate hearing what you said, Pete, about how you would consider them as a long shot bet. If you do it, man, I will suffer with you between now and late November. All right, moving on. We got 17. Oh, we've passed the halfway point. All right, Iowa State, the Cyclones, the home of illegal gambling, so they already have a special place in my heart. Plus 1,200 at FanDuel to win this conference. What do you guys think?
You're touching on it briefly. Not gonna do it. Yeah, I just don't see this one happening either. It's because we're talking about winning, the conference, and yeah, I had my 4 teams. This is not one of them, and the line would have to be bigger than the line I'm getting on Colorado. So yeah, it was an immediate bail.
Yeah, they're not a bad team, right? They're somewhat balanced for a Big 12 team. They have a bit of a defense, which is good. What lost a lot of close games, right? So they are competitive. So, could they do something here? Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't bet it, but I don't look at them as like, some of the other teams we talked about that just have no chance. They do have a chance, but I don't think it's that good of one. They're just a solid, decent football team.
All right, so this was the first team that I actually kind of liked. They had a super young team last year, not a whole lot of seniors. But the QB, Rocco Becht, is coming back. The running back, Sam, is coming back. Wide receiver, Higgins, is coming back. I believe in returning production, not just starters, but returning production. They have like 85% of their returning production coming back, which is like second in the country. Like Pete, you had touched on the close losses, 7 to Iowa, 7 to Kansas, only 10 to Texas. This is the first team that we've run into that actually has played defense. 22.8 points a game allowed, only 5.2 yards per play allowed in conference games. They beat Oklahoma State last year. They beat Kansas State last year on the road. And again, this is a young team. So, I would like a larger number than plus 1,200 here. They have Kansas State at home this year. They go to Kansas and Utah. I don't see a whole lot of goodness there, but, a 7-2 team could certainly play for the Big 12 title, a la Oklahoma State. So I'd like a bigger number, but, I'm not going to bet it. But if there's anybody out there that's looking for a longer shot to at least get into the game and give themselves a hedging opportunity, I'm down with Iowa State, definitely.
Yeah, if it moves in the direction of like plus 2,000, somewhere that way, it becomes somewhat intriguing. I agree.
Yeah. Like I said, not a lot of teams in this conference play defense. This is one that does. And like I said, they got a lot of people from last year's team coming back. I mean, the bowl game was a disaster, but they were supposed to run all over whoever the hell was playing. I think they had like 1 yard rushing the entire bowl game. So obviously the experience here, I think, will help them. I think some of those close losses will turn into wins. I'm not against it. Not against it at all. All right. UCF plus 1,100 at FanDuel. Any thoughts on UCF, the Knights?
I'm getting some PTSD about thinking about what I-4 is going to be like on September 28th when Colorado comes to town. It's going to be no one's going to make the game because we're all going to be stuck on I-4 trying to get to the game. But no, Malzahn is still there, but I'm not seeing it. He's a good coach. He's got the talent. I believe. Yeah, they got. I think Colorado. They've got a couple other decent games, but I don't see them in a position where they could overtake someone like Arizona or Kansas State or anybody like that to win the conference. So I need a bigger number. It just comes down to the number on this point.
Yeah, I see them in the bottom half of this conference, to be honest. I mean, their defense is abysmal. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. I don't know how they compete in this conference. They can score some points, but I don't really have any faith in them at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally agree with what both of you guys said. John Reese Plumlee, who is one of my favorite QBs, by the way, he's gone. KJ Jefferson coming over from Arkansas was not really a huge fan of his. Passing statistics, they're pretty much equal, but Plumlee's a much better runner. He was a big part of that offense. Like I said, now he's gone. RJ Harvey is back. So they're getting 1,400 yards and 16 rushing touchdowns, which help. But again, Pete, like you said, the defense is bad. Shocker, a Big 12 team with a bad defense. They host Arizona and Utah. They got to go to Iowa State. I don't see this team competing for the title either. All right, last year's trendy pick, which, as we already touched on, was a disaster. Texas Tech, a measly plus 850 to win this conference. What do you guys think?
That's it.
I know. Yeah. Sorry, man. I don't make them. I just read them what they are.
I mean, yeah. Maybe they know something we don't, but that's high. I mean, I'm surprised it's that low. As surprised I am that Colorado's was that high. Yeah, it's a flashy pick. I think maybe that's why people are actually betting to bring the line down a little bit because it's the bright shiny little thing. But no, not even a little bit. I don't even think they have a shot.
Let me just throw in, if you do have a season account, you can get plus 1,100. I don't know if that entices you any more than the plus 850 at FanDuel, but
no.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, I'm not sure at triple that number I'd be interested. Honestly, I don't see there. Yeah, the flashy pick last year, that was obviously a disaster. They're getting a little more flash again this year, which I think is not warranted. I don't see where they're going.
And the other teams, the kids are like, oh well, this is their pick. They're probably going to be favoring a lot of games. They'll get a lot of the other kids and the other teams just being like, all right, well, let's go show these guys. So they'll probably get better games from the opponents. They'll play above their level a little bit, and they probably really don't need to. So yeah, I don't think Texas Tech is. I don't even think they get into the game. I think they're probably finished 4th or 5th at best in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate this team, but I think there's definitely 4 or 5 other teams that have a better shot of getting to the conference title. I mean, the schedule's not terrible. I mean, they do have to go to Arizona. They do have to go to Oklahoma State, but I already had mentioned not a super huge fan of the Cowboys this year. Baron Morton comes back at QB. Taj Brooks back at running back, so that certainly helps. Defensively, again, not great. 26 points a game allowed. Only lost by 8 to Oregon. They did beat Kansas in Kansas by 3 points. So there is some things to like here, but I think there's some other teams with things that I like a lot more. So I think they'll improve on their 7-6, maybe by a game or two, but I do not see them in the Big 12 title game this year. All right, gentlemen, we're at the top 4 here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's start with one of the newcomers, Arizona, sitting at plus 750 at FanDuel. Thoughts on Arizona?
They could do it. They could. I wouldn't be shocked. It's not one that I'm looking to play though, but they got enough talent there to do it. I mean, it is a new conference, so we'll see. We'll see how what the adjustment makes. A lot of traveling. But they traveled pretty well in the Pac-12, so we'll see how it does. But I'm not leaning either way.
Yeah, this one's tough. This is a quandary. I don't know what to do with this team. I mean, they exceeded in 23. They had a fantastic year for them. They played some defense, right? They played defense last year, which is a good thing, which will serve them well in the Big 12. They have talent, as Tim mentioned, right? So I want to like the team, and I want to believe that they can win this conference. I do. I'm just not sure they will. Right? That's kind of where I am with them. I don't know if it's I think they'll kind of retract a little bit from last year from where that's kind of the way I see it. So I wouldn't play that. Number's too small anyway for this team. So yeah, they're a good team, but I think we're going to learn a lot this year with what they do in the Big 12.
Yeah, I like them. Not gonna lie, this is my I almost bet this, but I decided not to. But this would be my lean. If someone said to me, you have to make a bet in this conference, this is who I would pick. Offensively, they're great. Their QB Noah Fafita and their wide receiver McMillan both coming back, which is a good thing because their coach left. Fafita was in the portal. He ended up getting back out of the portal and staying here. 72% completion percentage, 25-6 TD to interception ratio. My dogs are freaking out now. They're all excited about Arizona as well. Will you
Listen
stop?
to their dogs.
Talk about somebody else. 2023, they did play 7 ranked teams. They did go 5-2. The Pac-12 was actually really good last year. So, it's not I don't think the schedule that they played last year was fraudulent in any way. The one thing I don't like, losing their coach and bringing in Brent Brennan. He was pretty crappy at San Jose State. My dog hates him as well. So don't like the coaching change here. The schedule's pretty favorable. They go to Utah. Remember, the game at Kansas State doesn't count in the standings, so that's really their only difficult game. And Pete had mentioned the defense. Only 21 points allowed in the offensively crazy Pac-12. So a lot to like. They're going from a Power 5 conference still in a Power 5 conference. It's not like they're coming from the Sun Belt here. I don't think we'll have a tough time adjusting too much. But the coaching change kept me away. But like Tim said, if they were playing anybody in the Big 12 title game, I wouldn't be surprised a bit. Let's talk about Tim, I'm going to start with you while I let my dogs out of the room here. Kansas plus 650 on the Jayhawks. Give it to us, baby.
Oh yeah, this is one that I like. They do, they have to go to Kansas State. They play at West Virginia. They have a non-conference game on the road against Illinois. They do have a home game. They are home against Houston, home against Colorado. So I don't see too many hiccups on their schedule. They got Daniels coming back. They got the running back coming back. A lot of talent there. And, quarterback's the most important position in football, and they got one. They got a good one. The number is a little bit low. If the number was a little bit higher, I'd probably jump on it. I think it's, what would you say, it was 650, I believe.
That's correct.
This may be my one other play. I'm leaning Kansas. I may just stick it out for a little while longer and see if I can get a higher number. But if not for Colorado, I really like Kansas this year. So I put them in there with Arizona, but I think they're better than Arizona just because of the quarterback. So Kansas is my number 2 pick. I'm not going to bet them yet. I'm going to see if the line goes up a little bit. But Colorado and Kansas to win the Big 12 from me.
Yeah, I mean, they're a good team. I can't really say anything negative per se about them, except that number's too low. I mean, if it was up plus 1,000 or so, this would become a very intriguing pick, I think, for sure. As you mentioned, this team, has all kinds of potential. They've been improving consistently under their coach Leopold. So I really think there's some positive things here for them. So yeah, I would not be surprised at all if they win this conference. But it's not my bet, but I would not be surprised.
Yeah, a lot of games at Arrowhead Stadium too.
Yeah,
it's about a half-hour drive. So I mean, it's still a home game, but I prefer they play in Kansas. I think the smaller place, the atmosphere would be a lot better. Yeah. But I get it. Got to get that money for your NIL people. So.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a stretch this statement is, but I don't think there's one player in this conference that's more important to their team than Jalen Daniels is here. I mean, this was kind of an easy breakdown for me because if he's healthy, they'll be in the title game. If he's not, they won't be. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot of research, but I think that's pretty much fact. The schedule's cake. The only tough road game looks like Kansas State. The problem is, they lost a lot on the offensive line. They got a new offensive coordinator coming in. Jason Bean, who played great in Daniel's absence, has graduated. So I don't know who the backup's going to be. So it's even more imperative that Daniel stays healthy. The defense actually was very un-Kansas-like. I mean, they gave up 26.5 points a game, but I read somewhere that's the lowest amount they've given up in the last 15 years. So if the defense continues to improve a little bit and Daniel stays healthy, yeah, I mean, I'd bet this too, but Daniels unfortunately has proven him staying healthy is not the easiest thing in the world. But yeah, if he's healthy, they're in. If he's not, they won't be. So I'm not betting it just because of the health thing. But I totally agree with that. I wouldn't argue with you if you did.
Right. Sweet.
All right.
Who's next?
2 teams to go. Kansas State was the favorite initially when I sent you guys these odds, but they are now the second betting choice at plus 360. Anything here on Kansas State?
No, not at all. They do get Kansas at home, like we discussed earlier, but I am not gonna sit here and pretend. I mean, the quarterback went to Ohio State, I believe, and a lot of holes to fill. I forget who they got to take his spot, but I'm not seeing this. I don't know why it's that low of a line. So that was another one with Texas Tech, kind of surprised me a little bit. I'm just down on Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, I like their defense. They play defense, which is good. I think with the quarterback change, that's a challenge, right? I don't know if I think they're going to step back a couple of steps because of that. So if that had not happened, they might have been my pick. Right, but for now, they're just not. I could be wrong, right? I mean, who knows what's going to happen there? But yeah, I think it's a big issue.
I mean, did you guys not watch the Pop-Tart Bowl? Okay. Come on.
Of course,
First
we
of all,
watched the
Tim,
Pop-Tart Bowl.
his name is Avery Johnson, and you're going to know his name by the end of the year, okay? Pop-Tart Bowl MVP. First of all, that should be a reason why you can't dismiss him right away. All right. I mean, the kid's a youngster, very little experience. He's played in 5 games. He only started 1. He's got 5 TDs, no picks, and 7 rush TDs. So the kid's accounted for 12 TDs with no interceptions. They do have a lot of O-line losses and a lot of losses on the defensive side of the ball as well. The schedule is favorable. They get Oak State at home and Kansas at home, like you had mentioned. Again, Arizona at home, but that game's not counting. If Avery lives up to the hype, they'll be in the mix. But yeah, they do got to overcome some O-line and some defensive losses as well. But yeah, come on, man. Avery Johnson.
Wouldn't it be something? It would be so college football if they lose. They lose to Arizona in a game that doesn't count because it's like someone else is like has the same record in conference, but because of that one game, it doesn't count for the conference. Kansas State goes. That'd be the so perfect college football thing.
But you know what? Not a lot of people are aware of that. But yeah, I mean, they will be once the game takes place. But I mean, let's just say you were interested in betting Arizona, and Arizona loses to Kansas State on September 14th. How many people do you think are going to not bet Arizona or bet somebody else? And you're going to get a little bit better number on Arizona. It wouldn't surprise me. The public bettor may not be aware of that. They might just be like, oh, Kansas State beat Arizona. I'm going to go bet on Kansas State now. Okay, well, they're still both going to be 0-0 in the conference after that game's over, regardless of what happens. But I'm kind of hoping that maybe, Arizona loses to Kansas State and those odds go up. But, if Arizona goes from plus 750 to plus 900 or something because they lose to Kansas State and people aren't aware of that. Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah. And that's what we give you as targeting winners, listeners, inside info.
That's right. You guys
Hopefully
already know in advance.
Don't listen.
Already know in advance 2 games won't count. You're welcome.
That's why Google has us ranked number 5.
Well, it's 6 actually. Yeah, I don't know who that site is. But yeah, they sent me this lovely email saying that, you guys, whatever. I don't even know who they are, but we're right there. So cool. And thank you guys for listening because we wouldn't be there because that's one of the things they track. So yeah, we're very happy. All right. 15 teams down, 1 to go. Another newbie from the Pac-12, Utah, baby. They are currently your FanDuel betting favorite at plus 340. They're also the Caesars favorite. Them and Kansas State both showing at plus 300. Anything on Utah, guys?
Pete, you guys want to go first, or
I'll go first? Sure. They play defense. They're a good team. I think it comes down to Rising or not Rising. If Rising's leg stays on and he plays, I think that averages them another touchdown per week. So they're about 23 points last year. So maybe around 29, 30. I think that plays really well in this conference. Their defense plays well in this conference. So yeah, this is a big time quarterback bet. Rising has got to be what he was, and he has to stay on the field. If he does, I think they'll win the conference. If he doesn't, I don't think they will. So that's where I sit on them.
Kind of like a la Kansas.
I was just going to say, this is like Kansas 2.0. If Rising's healthy, they'll do fine. If he's not, they'll be watching Arizona play Iowa State.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like, maybe it says I'm not betting them because I still have a bad taste in my mouth from last year. The pig farmer got us a couple times, did not play well. And Rising kind of looks like the dude from Robin Hood that screwed over all those Wall Street bets people. So
I love the guy.
I'll hold that against him. So Vlad, he looks like Vlad from Robin Hood, but it has nothing to do with football. But I'm looking at that, and and what's their number, like 250, 350?
Plus 340 at FanDuel.
340. I mean, yeah. Usually at this point, too much stuff can go on. I'm just not going to bet them. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Call it a gut feeling, or I'm just biased because last year they kind of screwed me over too much. So they hurt my feelings.
No, you don't have any feelings.
That's true.
I see it. I'm pretty much sure that they're going to be in there if Cam Rising stays healthy, but Tim, you know me. When have I ever bet a plus 340 future? I
Yeah,
won't do
I
it.
have the money for 350. No.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, again, much like Kansas with Jalen Daniels, Cam Rising's healthy. They'll be in the title game. I mean, that defense last year, 4th in the nation in rush defense. They got a real quarterback. Their boy Cam Rising back. 8-5 was very un-Utah like. Although they still managed to beat USC, so I did enjoy that. Pete had mentioned the defense, only 19 points a game allowed. Again, they're one of maybe 4 or 5 teams in this conference that actually play defense. Wouldn't surprise me if they're there at all. I think they're probably going to be one of the 2 teams playing for it, but plus 340, yeah, I'm out with that low of a number.
Amen.
All right, so that's that. So let's kind of recap what everybody's doing with this conference. I abstain. I made 0 bets as of this recording. If you guys want to lean from me, I would lean Arizona at plus 750. If you want a long shot, I'm down with the Iowa State Cyclones at plus 1200.
And everyone heard my bet. I got a plus 4,000 with the Colorado Buffaloes, taking the talent, going with Coach Prime, and I'm leaning Kansas. It's a pure quarterback bet, a la Cam Rising. I like the Daniels kid from Kansas. So leaning Kansas, did not bet it yet. I have a bet in on Colorado at plus 4,000.
And for me, I've got one which long shot bet, Oklahoma State. I'd like to see the number get a little higher than it is. Then I'd do something with it. I think they're a little low at the moment, but I think it might come back. So we'll see. Plus 2,000, somewhere in that range. I'd be all over that one. Once again, not jaded by the past here, so I'm just coming with fresh eyes on this team. But Utah, I think I wouldn't bet them because the number's too low, and I don't bet numbers that low. It's not really worth the return. But I think Utah's formidable. If Rising's on the field, they're extremely formidable. So that's my piece.
Yeah, I just didn't like that all the favorites seem to have the easiest schedule. All the longest shots have not only are they probably really bad teams, they got the most brutal schedule. It just seems like there's not a lot of value here in this conference. I mean, I'd love to see Arizona a little higher. I'd love to see Iowa State a lot higher, but they're not. So, I'm not betting anything, at least not now.
All right. Well, since we've got our stuff in, we've got our little possible money-making bet after the Arizona-Kansas State game in for people to watch for next year. Let's wrap it up there. I want to thank everyone for listening. So this has been our way, way, way too early Big 12 dumpster fire look at it. And thank you for listening. You can find us on Facebook. You can also find us on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Target Wins. Email us at cfbdudes@yahoo.com. This has been Targeting Winners. Thank you all for listening and have a good week.